أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: فلولا وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Religious people, those who adhere to faith and religion, they try their best to avoid performing acts that are forbidden in religion and in Islam, haram acts. They try their best to avoid. As long as they know that they are haram, they try their best to avoid. For example, listening to music, drinking alcohol, eating pork, backbiting, stealing, things like this. Religious people, they avoid because they know this is haram and they avoid. However, there are things that we might not know that they are haram, but they are actually haram. It is our due, it is our responsibility to go out and study and know and discover what is haram so that we may avoid, so that we may learn. This is wajib upon us, to learn of the wajibat and muharramat. This is mandatory upon every single one of us, despite our age, despite our social standing. It is wajib. The verse says, وَلِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ. Let them understand faith. Let them learn the fiqh of their religion. Let them understand their faith and know their faith. So this is wajib upon every Muslim to know what is halal and what is haram. And this has no age limit. You could be 90 years old. If you don't know some of the wajibat and muharramat, you still have to learn. So usually we avoid what is haram, that which what we know is haram. But that which we don't know, well, we don't know. That is the point, that we have to learn. We have to learn what is haram so that we avoid it. Let me give you an example. We know that there are several things that cause cancer. Nastaghfirullah. Some things have scientifically been proven to cause cancer. For example, smoking. For example, being exposed to radiation. This may cause cancer. Heating food in the microwave, for example, or in plastic plates, using plastic using plastic cups and pouring hot water. This may cause cancer. We know this. We know that scientifically it's been proven that some of these things can cause cancer. But there are other things that may cause cancer that we don't know about. For example, food preservatives, or having your phone close to your head. This might, la samahullah, God forbid, cause the development of a tumor in your brain. We don't know. We know of some things that cause cancer and other things we don't know. Isn't it logical that we go and we research and we find out what foods, what drinks, what devices may cause cancer? We would. Logically we would. Or what do you say? They say, no, inshallah it doesn't. Inshallah it doesn't. Or who cares? Let me eat this food. Let me eat this type of food. Let me go to this type of place. And inshallah it doesn't cause cancer. Is this how we do? Is this how we behave? Or when it comes to our health, we go out and we research. We discover. Why? Because this is something dangerous. Faith religion, ahkam, should not be taken lightly. They should be taken just as seriously as our health. Just as seriously. So we have to learn and we have to discover. Tonight, my dear friends, in the coming minutes, in the few minutes that we have, we will discuss some acts that are haram in Islam that most people or many people don't know about. Many people don't know. We know the common things: drinking, eating pork, eating meat that was not slaughtered in the right way, in the Islamic way, ghiba, lying, backbiting. We know these things. But there are a lot of other haram acts that we might not know of. We haven't studied, we haven't discovered. Tonight we will mention a few examples. Of course, there are many. There are many things that are haram that most people do not know about. Some people, they commit them and they don't know that they're committing something that is haram. Tonight we'll mention a sample of things that are haram. Our ulama have said they are haram, but most people do not know about. Number one, disowning your relatives. At-tabarri min al-nasab. This is haram. Meaning what? Meaning you say, I am not part of this family. You disown the family. I'm from a different family. I don't belong to this family. At-tabarri min al-nasab. I have nothing to do with this family. This is haram. I've seen some individuals, when they get upset with family members, they disown them. They say, I am not part of this family. This is haram. There's a difference between qat' al-rahim, cutting your ties off with family members. That's qat' al-rahim. That is also haram. When you don't call your family members, you don't speak to them, you don't visit them, this is qat' al-rahim. This is something else. This is at-tabarri min al-nasab. Disowning yourself, disowning your family, distancing yourself from the family. That you say, I'm from a different family. This is not my family. This is not my family. You deny that you belong to this family. This is haram. The hadith, Sahihat Abi Basir. This is an authentic hadith on the authority of Imam Sadiq. عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام قال كفر بالله من تبرأ من نسب. He who claims innocence, declares his innocence from a family. He says, I am not part of this family. I do not belong to this family. He changes his lineage. He changes his lineage. He says, I am not part of this family. He disowns his family. This person has caused disbelief in Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is number one. Number two, barbers. I don't know. Do we have any barbers here tonight? I don't know. To shave one's beard, if you're a barber, and a Muslim comes to you and says, shave my beard, this is haram. Shaving your own beard is haram as a necessary precaution, ihtiyat wujubi, according to most ulama, including Sayyid Sistani. Yes, for Sayyid Al-Khoi allows a goatee. You may shave the sides and have a goatee, according to Sayyid Al-Khoi. This is for yourself. As for others, it is haram to shave someone else's beard. So if you're a barber, next time someone comes and tells you, shave my beard, you tell them, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. If they are Muslim. If they are not Muslim, and it is allowed in their faith, in their religion it is permissible to shave their beard, then you may shave their beard. Otherwise, if a Muslim comes to you, you may not shave their beard. And taking money for shaving his beard is also haram. This is number two. Number three, changing a deceased will. What do I mean by this? We have the right to write a will and decide on how to spend a third of our wealth after our death. So how much do we own? How much of our assets do we own? Let's say I own $100,000, $1 million. I can decide on where a third of my assets are spent after my death. I could give it to someone, a son, a daughter. This is not including the inheritance. No. In addition to the inheritance, 2/3 of your wealth will be divided in inheritance. You can decide 1/3 of your wealth where it goes, to a son, to a daughter, to a wife, to a cousin, to a friend, to a masjid, to a hospital, to a clinic, to a charity. 1/3. You wrote in your will and you had witnesses, 2 just witnesses come and testify, and they signed. Some heirs, they change the will. They say, well, my father, he wanted the 1/3 to be spent on the masjid. Alhamdulillah, the masjid has plenty of money. There's plenty. Let's send it to the poor in, for example, in so-and-so country. This is haram. This is haram. You cannot change the deceased will. If he said, give it to Zayd, you cannot give it to Amr. If he said, give it to Amr, you cannot give it to Zayd. You spend it the way that the deceased wanted. كتب عليكم إذا حضر أحدكم الموت إن ترك خيرا الوصية للوالدين والأقربين بالمعروف حقا على المتقين. And then the verse says, فمن بدله بعدما سمعه فإنما إثمه على الذين يبدلونه. Those who change the will after they heard the will, they change it, they will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment. You have to spend the will the way that person wanted it to be spent. You don't say, no, alhamdulillah, they have plenty of money. Or his eldest son is a millionaire, let him be a millionaire. So what if he's a millionaire? Let him be a billionaire. His youngest son is poor, he's poor. That's it. The father wanted his eldest son to receive 1/3 of his wealth. Who are you to come and change that will? This is haram. Number 4, spying on others. This is haram. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من in سورة الحجرات يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا. Do not spy on one another. You might say, this is obvious. We know that spying is haram. Spying doesn't just mean, signing up in the MI6 and CIA and spying. There's a lot of ways of spying. And let me give you an example. A common way that a lot of people spy and they commit haram without knowing. A wife that goes through her husband's phone. She has his password. I don't know how she has his password. Maybe he's an idiot, he gave her password. I don't know. And she goes through his phone, his messages, his WhatsApp. Is he messaging another lady or not? She goes on his Instagram, his messages. This is haram. This is spying. And vice versa. If a husband goes through his wife's messages, his wife's phone, behind her back. Sometimes we offer the phone, that's fine. You want to do that, that's fine. But sometimes you go behind their back, behind your husband's back, behind your wife's back, when they're not in the house, or when they're taking a shower, or when they're sleeping. You go and you check their messages, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat. This is haram. This is considered spying. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. If you do this, say astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh, and stop going through your spouses, even your children that are adults. Yes, sometimes there's a necessity. You're afraid for your child. You're afraid of them getting in trouble. Otherwise, no, you're bored, you have nothing to do, you decide on going through your son or daughter's phone or iPhone. This is also not allowed. This is tajassus, it is spying, and this is haram. Number 5, among the haram acts that many people perform, which is haram and it is not allowed, suing a mu'min in a non-Islamic court. Taking a mu'min to a non-Islamic court. This is haram. Suing a fellow mu'min. Sometimes you go to a mujtahid, a jurist, and you file a complaint. He's taken my house, he's taken my land, he's done this, he's done that. This is halal. Sometimes you sue him in a non-Islamic court. In the Islamic court, do they abide by Islamic laws? They don't abide by Islamic laws. So they'll take this land and give it to this person, this house and give it to that person. This is haram, suing a mu'min in a non-Islamic court, in a corrupt court. صحيحة عبد الله بن سنان. This hadith is sahih. عن أبي عبد الله قال أيما مؤمن قدم مؤمنا في خصومة. Any mu'min that sues another mu'min إلى قاض أو سلطان جائر. They go to a corrupt judge. Who's a corrupt judge? A corrupt judge, anyone that's not Islamic. He's not a mujtahid. He's not just. He's not adil. فقضى عليه بغير حكم الله. And he decides on ruling against the law of Allah. فقد شركه في الإثم. That mu'min is just as guilty as that corrupt judge suing mu'min. I've seen this a lot in many places. In many places. A mu'min suing another mu'min. This is haram. And this happens in some families as well. They fight over child custody, they go to court. Over divorce, they go to court. Over the wife taking half of her husband's wealth after a divorce. Is this allowed? This is not. This also requires a discussion, my dear friends. Can a wife take half of her husband's assets at divorce? This is the money that he made. Sometimes they made the money together. They split it in half. That's a different story. Sometimes it's your husband's money. You divorce him and you take half of his assets. And that was not the deal when you got married. This is a problem, my dear friends. I was not planning on saying this, but this is another problem that a lot of times it happens at court. Number 6, another haram act that many people perform is this: a divorced woman leaving the house of her husband during her iddah, waiting period. You know, after a divorce, there's a waiting period. At 3 monthly cycles, a divorced wife, has to remain at her husband's house, the one who divorced her, during the waiting period, during the iddah. She has to stay. She does not leave. She can't go to her parents' house or rent a place or go to a hotel. She has to stay at her husband's house. And the husband cannot kick her out either. She stays at home. Does she wear hijab? She does not have to wear hijab. During the waiting period, she does not have to wear. He's still legally her husband. She has to stay. He cannot kick her out of the house, and she cannot leave the house as well without his permission during the waiting period. A lot of couples, as soon as, before the divorce, not just after before the divorce, they're already separated. For 6 months, a year, 2 years, they're already separated. This is not allowed. This is not allowed. During the waiting period, the wife has to be at home. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن. Do not kick them out of their house. It's still her house. ولا يخرجن, and they shall not leave as well. This is your house. Stay until the waiting period is over, and then you part ways. Why, my dear friends? Why? Because there's a chance when she's in the house for the next 3 months or so, most likely what will happen? What will happen? They will come back together. لا تدري. The verse says at the end, لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك. Or perhaps they will come. This is a way that Islam made a rule, a law, so that this couple, this divorced couple, may come back together by not leaving the house. The wife doesn't leave, and the husband cannot kick her out as well. Number 7, proposing to a woman that is already married. This is haram. This is haram. Insinuating, speaking to her romantically. Not that, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, they commit adultery. No, but he says, for example, if you get divorced, I will marry you. Divorce your husband and I will marry you. This is haram. This is haram. To speak to a woman, a married woman, and tell her, if you get divorced, I will marry you. You propose to her. This, and a woman in iddah as well. In her waiting period, she's still not divorced. She's still legally married. During the iddah, the 3 months, the 3 menstrual cycles, you cannot propose to her. You cannot tell her, once it's done, inshallah, we'll get married. You cannot speak to her romantically until the divorce is finalized. And then you may propose, but not when she's married and not when she's on her iddah. I have to rush. Number 8, I'm going to skip this one. Number 8, it's a bit long. Number 9, some people know this, some people don't know this. Facing the Qibla when you're using the restroom. And giving your back to the Qibla when using the restroom. This is haram. When you go to a place, a hotel, at home, make sure at home that the restroom does not face the Qibla. And you don't give your back to the Qibla as well. Istiqbal al-Qibla. And istidbar al-Qibla while you're using the restroom is not allowed. So if your toilet is at home, is facing the Qibla, you'll have to sit sideways. I know that's inconvenient, but that's how it is. Or you change, not the Qibla. You change the restroom. You have to do something about it. You cannot face the Qibla and turn back, give your back to the Qibla using the restroom. When you go to a hotel, check. When you're visiting somewhere, check. When you go to their in-laws, check. Maybe you can use this as an excuse not to go to your in-laws. If their restroom is on the Qibla. You have to make sure that you're not sitting towards the Qibla. Number 10. You cannot enter people's home without permission. This might be a given, straightforward, but a lot of times we do this. You cannot enter a house without seeking permission. You have to seek permission before entering a house. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تدخلوا بيوتا غير بيوتكم حتى تستأنسوا وتسلموا. And you have to say salam. You have to seek permission and you say salam. This is wajib. You cannot enter a house without saying salam and without seeking permission. You don't say, oh, well, I can come in. This is my cousin's house. No. You have to seek permission. On that note, the Quran also tells us that there are several homes you can enter and eat from without seeking permission. There are several homes, even if you don't have permission, haven't sought permission, you can eat from. You can go to the fridge, take out food, and you may eat. ليس على الأعمى حرج ولا على الأعرج حرج ولا على المريض حرج ولا على أنفسكم. What? أن تأكلوا من بيوتكم. You may eat from your homes. أو بيوت آبائكم, the homes of your fathers. أو بيوت أمهاتكم, your mothers. أو بيوت إخوانكم. أو بيوت أخواتكم, your brothers and your sisters. أو بيوت أعمامكم أو بيوت عماتكم, your aunts and uncles from your father's side. أو بيوت أخوالكم أو بيوت خالاتكم, or your aunts and uncles from your mother's side. أو ما ملكتم مفاتحه, or if you have the keys to a house. أو صديقكم, or your friend's house. You do not need to seek permission. You go to their fridge, you may eat without seeking permission. That is fine. Unless you know that they don't want you to eat, that's another story. But if you don't know, you go to their homes, you may go to their fridge, you may go and pick up food and eat from the homes listed in this verse. طيب. Number 11. If you've given a gift to someone, we skip number 8. Number 11, if you've ever given a gift to someone, it is halal to ask for the gift back. It's not polite, obviously. It's not very nice. I don't suggest you do it. That if you've given a gift to someone and for some reason you want it back, you may ask for it back, except if it's a family member. ذي رحم, meaning parents, brothers and sisters, siblings, aunts and uncles, grandparents and cousins. They are your immediate relatives. If you give them a gift, it is haram to ask for that gift back. It is haram. The hadith says, صحيحة محمد بن مسلم, this is a صحيح hadith, عن أبي جعفر قال لا يرجع في الصدقة إذا ابتغى بها وجه الله. There's another issue of sadaqah. If you've given sadaqah and then you change your mind, can you take it back? Most ulama say it's fine, but it's highly makruh. If you've given a sadaqah, don't take it back. Don't take it back. And so this is another story. The topic on sadaqah is a different story. And then وقال الهبة والنحلة يرجع فيها إن شاء حيزة أو لم تحز إلا لذي رحم. You can take back a gift to someone that you've given, except a family member, ذي رحم. And I mentioned who the ذي رحم are. It is haram to ask for the gift back. طيب. Number 12, performing magic. Performing magic is haram, and it's amongst the greatest sins. You might ask, who performs magic today? Come and ask me, I'll tell you who performs magic. We've seen lots of stories in different communities. One woman does magic for another woman, or she wants her husband and she does magic for her, tries to steal her husband. You'll be amazed at the stories that we hear. There are some people that do go through magic, and this is haram. It is haram to try to practice any sort of magic on certain individuals, on a man, on a woman, on a cousin, on a stranger. This is haram. Number 13, forbidding a female relative from going back to her ex-husband. You're a father. Your daughter got divorced. After several months, after several years, she wants to get back with her husband. You say, no, let him go. Let him go to hell. Let him do that. You cannot. You cannot do this. If she wants to go back. Why? Because a lot of times when there's a divorce in the family, the problem's not just with the wife, the problem becomes with the parents, the brothers, the cousins. So they stop her from going back to her husband. You have no right to stop her from going back to her husband. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلُهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. If they decided on going back, let them go back. Let them go back. In fact, be a factor that brings people together. That brings people together. I know one alim, I heard this story from him. He said, I was visiting one of the European countries. A young man came to me and said, Sayyid, my mother is looking for a husband, and my father is looking for a wife. They had a horrible divorce. He said, the best thing to do is bring them back. He's looking for a wife, and she's looking for a husband. Let them come back. Speak to them. Let them come back. There are some people, we try to divide. Instead, try to bring them back. Even if they've been divorced for 10 years, 20 years. You never know. It might work. It is haram to forbid a woman from going back to her ex-husband. If she wants, and he wants as well, who are you to stand in their way? And finally, number 14, I will conclude with this. Exposing what you heard privately. Something that you heard privately. You're at someone's house. You're at someone's house, and you heard a story. Someone did this, someone did that, this couple got, not ghiba, not necessarily ghiba. Whether it's ghiba or not ghiba, if you heard something privately, if someone entrusted you, or they didn't tell you not to say, but they came and said it to you privately, it is haram to expose. It is haram to say that secret out. You heard something privately at the masjid, at someone's home. You were about 4 or 5 people, and you heard something private, a secret. It is haram to expose. It is haram to let that secret out, whatever it is. Even if it's not personal. Even if it's not personal. Someone tells you, I make this amount of money annually, monthly. You go out and you tell people. Why? This is not allowed. صحيحة زرارة. This hadith is sahih. عن أبي جعفر عليه السلام. الإمام الباقر قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله المجالس بالأمانة. المجالس بالأمانة. That majalis, you're trusted. You're trusted when you're sitting in a session. It goes by default. You don't even need to be told that keep this between us. If you're sitting in a private gathering, 2 people, 3 people, you are not allowed to say what was told in that gathering. Of course, the list goes on, but these are some of the things, some of the common things that are haram, but many people do not know about. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to understand His fiqh even better, inshaAllah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم نسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبنا من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. الفاتحة.